Hey guys, welcome back to another video. This is part 2 of how to debug Apex code. If you have not watched the first video, I highly recommend you to do so. We have covered how to debug Apex code using System.debug Statements in the previous video. In this video, we are going to see how we can do the same using Apex Replay Debugger Salesforce extension. So we have already covered what is debugging. So debugging is the process of finding defect in the code that is causing an unexpected output. Basically, we are going to find what is the bug in our code and we're going to fix it. In this video, we're going to see the second option that we have for debugging the code. We are going to use Apex Replay Debugger. Now, when do we have to use Apex Replay Debugger? The first criteria is when you have hundreds of lines of code. In that scenario, it is not feasible to use System.debug statements. You won't be able to figure out where to put in your statements, and you won't be able to figure out how the debug statements are being printed in the logs. Second is when you have a lot of classes and methods involved. When one method is calling another method from another class, and that's how there are a lot of invocation in your transaction. When you're not allowed to insert System.debug statements, then you only have this option of using the replay debugger using the log file. And finally, when we have a lot of recursive calls, which means a method is calling itself multiple times. So moving on, what is Apex Replay Debugger? So basically, when you install the Salesforce CLI, the VS Code and the Salesforce extensions pack, so Apex Replay Debugger comes in with the Salesforce extension pack. It is a part of the pack itself. And if you have not watched the video where I have in detail discussed how to set up your dev environment and dev tools for developing the Apex and Lightning Web components, I'll leave the link in the description down below. Now the steps that we're going to follow is we are simply going to create a project with a manifest in the VS Code. Then we are going to authorize our org. Then we have to retrieve the Apex class which we want to debug in the VS Code. And then we have to do a couple of things, like we have to turn on the Apex log for replay debugger. We have to get the logs that are generated. And before that, we have to generate the logs by calling the method and the class somehow. We're going to see how. And then finally, we have to run the Apex Replay Debugger with the downloaded log file. So let's dive in. Alright, so I'm in my VS Code right now. Let's create a project real quick. So we're going to create a project with manifest. Give it a name. Alright, before moving on, I would like to show you that here, if you go to force-app, you see this file structure, that folder structure that is created as a part of standard project template. And if we go to .vs code, sorry, let me first see. Yeah, if we go to .sfdx folder, you see this folder is currently empty. So pay attention to the content of this folder as we go along. So let's authorize our org. Select authorize an org. give it some name. It redirects you to the login page. You can simply go ahead and log in. Yeah, come back to the VS Code. And now we have authorized our org. And let's retrieve some metadata, that is the Apex class that we are going to debug. Make sure that when you retrieve the Apex class in the VS Code from your org, after you have retrieved, please don't make any changes, because that will again produce some unexpected output when you are debugging the log file. So let's go to Apex classes and let's see which class we are going to debug here. And the class name is Apex class example. Yeah, so this one is here. Click on retrieve source from org. Alright, so here we have it. Okay, so the next step is to turn on the Apex Replay Debugger. So let me first show you where is this Apex Replay Debugger. So if you go to Salesforce extension pack, this one is already installed in my system, as you can see. And this is the list of all the extensions that we have in this pack. So if you scroll down, you would be able to see we have the Apex Replay Debugger here already installed. If you go to the Apex Replay Debugger, it also shows that do not install this extension directly. You need to install the Salesforce extension pack instead. And this will come as a part of the pack. Okay. So let's move on. We again click on Ctrl-Shift-P. And then we are going to hit turn on Apex Debug Log for Replay Debugger. If I go back and show you in the tools, now in the tools we have S objects, we have SQL, we have SOQL metadata and test results. And we are currently running the turn on Apex Debug Log for Replay Debugger CLI command. What this will do is basically it will set up the trace flags for the current user who is logged in, that is yourself. And let's wait for it to complete. Alright, so as you can see in the below, beside the default org, you would be able to see that it is recording the detail logs until 6:08 p.m. So we have just set up this trace flags for ourselves. Now we are going to go back to our dev console and we are going to generate a log file for ourselves on the current date. So as you can see, all the log files are old. So to create the log files, we have to execute the current code. And how do we execute this? We are simply going to open our execute anonymous and we are going to select this and then execute highlighted. So it says session expired. Let me refresh the page. Alright, so the log is now created. Now let's go back, and as you can see in the tools we only have as objects circle metadata and test results. Now let's try to run another command, Control Shift P, and then get Apex Debug Logs. Get Apex Debug Logs. And as you can see, we have only executed one class, so there is only one debug log that is present. So we simply need to select this and it will be downloaded. And as soon as it is downloaded, you would be able to see there is another subfolder created inside .sfdx/tools, and there is another folder created which is debug/logs. And here all the log files that you download using this CLI command will be downloaded. Now since we have our log file, we have our Apex class, the final step that we need to do is basically run the Apex replay debugger using the current log file. So we simply right click on the log file and we can launch Apex replay debugger with the current file. Alright, as soon as you do this, you would be able to see something like this. So this is all the possible commands that we get as a part of the replay debugger. So let's see what each of these icons mean in this command palette. So the first one is simply to continue. So as soon as you launch the replay debugger using the log file, it will start from line number 1 of the logs. So let's click on continue. Before continuing, let's see what all the other options are. So this one is step over, this one is step into, this one is step out, and this one is restart, and this last one is to stop the debugging. So let's click on stop, and as you can see the debugging has stopped. Let's restart it once again. And let's click on continue. Okay, when you click on continue, it basically executes and comes back to the first line or whatever location you are currently on. So let's not do that because we have not included any breakpoints in the code. So it executes and it comes back to where you were. So let's go back to our code first and let's insert a couple of breakpoints. So the breakpoint is basically when the replay debugger is executing all the commands, all the instructions in the log files, we need to give some points where the execution needs to stop. So that is called the breakpoints. And the breakpoints we can simply give inside our IDE, that is the VS Code. So let's give the first breakpoint here where the main method is being called. Okay. So this is our first breakpoint. Now let's give a couple of more breakpoints. Let's give a breakpoint here. Although it is commented out, let's put it right into it. And let's give another breakpoint over here. Okay, let's go back to our Apex replay Apex log, and let's restart the Apex replay debugger. Okay, now when you continue, as you saw in the previous example, it came back, it executed everything and we did not get to see anything. Let's hit continue this time. Okay, so again it executed everything and did not go to the breakpoints. Okay, let's launch it again, and instead of continuing, let's go to step over, or maybe step into. Let's see one by one. Okay, so when we step over, it is going to the line number 2 of the log file. Again it exited, so let's go ahead and see what we have in the third option. So let's step into line number 2, step into, and now it is coming to your Apex classes. Okay, now we go to step into again. Okay, now if you keep on stepping in, you would be able to debug all the variables. See, this is the reason we are using Apex Replay Debugger. It clearly shows you where the program control is going line by line. Okay, now it is here. I'm not sure why these breakpoints are not being identified in these line number 3, 11 and 19. Anyways, moving on. All right. Now, when you come inside a loop, let's see how many times it gets executed. So we keep on clicking on step into. This is the first iteration. This is the second iteration. This is the third iteration. And this is the fourth iteration. And now it has exited the code. All right. Now we will see how to get out of the loop. Like, say for example, if this loop was running for 1000 times. So if you're debugging, you won't want to step inside 1000 times. You would want to exit out of it in one go. So let's go and see how we can do that. We go line by line, we go line by line. This is the safest option of debugging. You can go line by line, one by one. And in the left side in the pane, you can see all the static and global variables. Since there are none, so there is no variable listed here. In the call stack, you would be able to see how the methods are being called. So first of all, execute anonymous Apex got called, and then Apex class example.main got executed. And the breakpoints, you would be able to see how many breakpoints are there. So there is currently only one breakpoint, and there is also something called the checkpoints, which we will discuss in the next video. So let's we don't want to step in, so let's step in for once, and now we want to get out of the loop. How do we do that? So here we have an option of stepping out. If you step out, you should skip this current loop, and there you go. So you have, as soon as we skipped the loop, the program execution ends here. That is why we are not getting to the next line, else we would have gotten to the next breakpoint wherever you have put the breakpoint. So let's try to put a breakpoint in line number 18, and let's see if it works. Okay, so breakpoints on line number 11 and 19 were unidentified because these are commented lines and not actual line of code. Okay, so now, right now we have 4 debug breakpoints. Let's go ahead and launch. Okay, now if we step over, no, don't step over here. Let's go inside. Okay, it hit the first breakpoint. Now if we continue, let's see what happens if we continue. Okay, now if you continue, it will catch to the next point of breakpoint. Step over, what it does. Okay, so that seems like step over and step into is behaving in the same manner. So all right, so we are currently in the loop, so let's step out of it. Okay, this one again got unidentified. Okay, so we won't be able to catch it because this breakpoint is unidentified again. Anyways, you get the idea of how to use the Apex Replay Debugger. And once you have created this particular folder, and the structure is something like this. So in the root, we have .sfdx folder. Inside that, we have tools folder, and inside tools, we have debug. And inside this debug, we have the logs. Now, once you have created this, you no longer have to run these commands where we are enabling the trace flags and then downloading the log files. You can simply go and say, for example, we have this particular log file, right? You can simply right click over here and you can download this log. Now, once the log is downloaded, you can simply copy it or cut it from here, and what you have to do is basically go over this folder, go inside this folder and paste your log file. So what we are going to do is we have to navigate to our project folder and simply paste it over there. So the folder structure was sfdx tools debug logs, and here it is. The existing log is here. You can simply go ahead and paste your another log. See, this is basically the same log. And now if you go back to VS Code, you would be able to see another log, and you can simply execute it using the replay debugger, the process is exactly the same. Alright, this is it for today's video, guys. Thanks for watching the video, and if you have any comments, suggestions, or if you know something else that I've missed in this video, you can comment down below so that our community gets to learn more. Thanks for watching and see you in the next video.